in order to keep the love of man. An almost perverted way of self-abuse. Finally, in exchange for a man's turn back, he used a fishing rod to catch the woman ashore, take the hooks out of her body one by one. The pain is unbearable, but women can't make a sound. Because she is a dumb girl and is hot on the river. It is the water hotel she runs. Most of the guests come here for fishing. The woman took out the hook and pointed it at the bottom of her skirt. By the way, enjoy the special service provided by Hedgen. But this taken middle-aged wretched. Not only was he rude to he, Zheng, after enjoying the special service, don't abandon he, really can't make a sound. Sprinkle the money on the water at random. This is tantamount to trampling on his real dignity. She went back to the room. Use newspaper to suck up the water stain on the bill. It is just that the thoughts in my heart are getting heavier and heavier. Hard-hearted to plug in while the night is deep. The wretched man is convenient by the water. I don't know. There are two hands behind me. Is approaching him. Plop. Man instantly fall into the water. But his cry for help attracted the attention of his companions. He Zheng hides in the distance, unwilling to stick the dagger into the boat. She wrapped her fishing line around her hand. He Zhen, though resentful, but already familiar with the humiliation of the guests. However, this day water hotels then came a special man. Hansik never talks to people. Not to mention, staring at Xi Zhen, just a man, sitting in a room. Crash from time to time crying because every single one spent here day and night. Hansik is deeply condemned by his conscience. With the distant boats paddling, he was a police officer. The line is getting tighter and tighter until a woman fell to the ground and let out a shrill scream. Blood stained the bottom of the skirt red. The woman helplessly jumped into the river. But after they his friend's betrayal, he couldn't suppress the rage in his heart and shot the cheating couple dead. He could only flee to a floating motel for refuge. However, Xi Zhen couldn't help but be attracted to this taciturn man. Often in the middle of the night, she would gaze at Hansik's sleeping face. That night, Hansik finally made up his mind. He picked up the gun and pointed it at his temple, thinking of ending his life like this. But unexpectedly, a dagger suddenly emerged from under the wooden board, piercing through Hansik's thigh. The intense pain made him abandon the suicidal thoughts. At this moment, Xi Zhen rowed the boat away. To repay her for saving his life, Hyunsik made a small fish out of wire and hung it on the hook to give to her. Xi Zhen's face showed a smile for the first time. She put an earthworm on the hook. In no time, she gave Hyunsik a real small fish. Xi Zhen swung on the swing under the sun. She felt inexplicably happy. She even went into the bushes to catch frogs to feed Hansik's parrot.
Wait a minute.
Hyunsik personally made a swing out of wire. Back to Xi Zhen, this was the first time she had been treated with care. Back home, she couldn't stop fiddling with the swing. At first, she was just curious about Hyunsik. Now, it has turned into affection. The two exchanged gifts like this, crossing the boundary between guest and landlady. One day, a few cowgirls came. They specially came to the floating motel to serve some guests. Xi Zhen, as usual, ferried them over by boats. The seemingly calm water surface denied the surging desires beneath. A torrential rain poured down from the sky. The perfect humidity made Xi Zhen unable to contain the flutter in her heart. She brought wine to Hansik's cabin. The two sat on the wooden board, sharing a bottle of wine. Not a word was spoken yet. They could feel each other's emotions uncontrollably entwined together. But at the crucial moment, Xi Zhen struggling to push Huangwu into the water. She didn't want their relationship to become a mere transaction like with other customers. But as soon as she returned to her room, she received a call from an escort girl. It turned out Hanwu had called her. Hui Jing reluctantly sent the escort over. What she didn't know was Hanwu did it just to make her jealous.
Hurry up! I need to go home early.
Put your clothes on. Cholo, the two started drinking coffee in the room. The two drank coffee for the remaining time. Hanwu crafted a delicate bicycle out of wire to even help the woman recite a ring. Looking at this quiet man in front of her, the escort girl couldn't help but feel he was different. Not long after her pimp showed up at the door, the woman had no choice but to leave.
Do you know how much money this is? You bastard! Hey, let's go!
Hui Jing knew she had no right to be jealous, so she could only vent her frustration on the dog. A few days later, the escort girl came to find Hanwu on her own. The brief encounter made her develop feelings for Hanwu. Under the escort girl's urging, Hui Jing sent her to Hanwu's room.
I am off today, so I came to see you, mister.
Hyunwoo didn't refuse the escort girl. This made Hui Jing even more jealous. Just as they were getting along well, the wooden cover on the floor suddenly opened. Hui Jing's head popped up from below. Her gloomy eyes stared straight at Han. For a moment, all three felt quite awkward. Fortunately, Hui Jing left quickly. The next morning, Hanwu took out some cash and handed it to the escort girl. He considered it a simple transaction, but the woman cried her heart out.
I am not a prostitute. Today's my day off. I just came to see you, mister.
You've gone too far.
Before leaving, the escort girl told Hanwu she would come back in a few days. As He Jing drove her away, she even received a tip. He Jing could no longer pretend not to see it. She threw the tip at the woman and deliberately turned the boat around abruptly, hitting the woman's head hard. However, this wasn't enough to quench her anger. He Jing went to the room of the culprit and directly beat his lip until it bled. Then she swiftly swam out, leaving Hansik's son alone. The feelings between the two were like a thick fog. But before Hansik could sort out his thoughts, two police officers arrived at the scene. One of the fugitives stabbed the police officer and tried to escape by jumping into the water, but was shot dead. And when Hansik heard the gunshot, he realized his situation was dire. So with a heavy heart, he put several fish hooks into his throat and then pulled them tight. Blood gushed out instantly. Just as He Jing opened the door, she saw Hansik writhing in pain on the ground. Although she didn't know his past, He Jing decided to help him cover it up. Soon the police searched their way to Hansik's room. By that time, only He Jing was left inside mopping the floor. The police looked around. Fortunately, they didn't notice anything unusual. After the police left, Xi Jing immediately opened the wooden hatch and used a fishing rod to pull Hansik up. By now, he had been tortured by the fish hooks to the point of wishing for death. He Jing used a small piece of wood to prop open Hansik's mouth and with great effort used tweezers to remove all the fish hooks from his throat. The excruciating pain left Hansik unable to make a sound. He tightly grabbed He Jing's hand and moved it downwards. He Jing understood immediately. Using her most skilled method, she helped Hansik ease the pain. In the days that followed, He Jing stayed by his side, taking attentive care of him, gently fanning him with a handheld fan to soothe the burning sensation in Hyunsik's throat wound. When there were no customers, they would take a boat ride into the wheat field, spend a quiet time together in their little world. Felt this peaceful life would last forever. But it was shattered by the arrival of an escort girl. rope. Hye-jin's jealousy was hard to conceal. She pretends to give the woman a ride to find Han-sik, but instead takes her to an empty house. By the time the escort girl realizes something's wrong, she's already been tied up by Hye-jin, planning to release the woman at dawn, but she manages to break free under the cover of darkness, forcing the door open with all her might. The ropes binding her slow her down, and as she struggles, she accidentally falls into the water. The next morning, what Hye-jin sees is just a body floating on the surface. She forces herself to stay calm, then ties the body to an electric scooter, letting the woman sink to the bottom, thinking she's gotten away with it. But then the pimp shows up again. He heads straight for Han-sik's cabin. Without a word, they start fighting. Han-sik knocks the pimp into the water. At that moment, Hye-jin grabs him underwater, holding him there until he stops moving, then uses the same method to sink the man to the bottom. Watching Hye-jin's skilled movement, Hyun-sik realizes this isn't the first time she's done this, and seeing the high heels left by the shore, Hyun-sik finally understands everything. This silent woman by his side sends chills down Han-sik's spine. Their relationship seems unchanged from before, but deep down they've grown apart. Hyun-sik makes a small figure out of wire. Hye-jin takes it, but sinks it into the water, as if reminding Han-sik that she's a murderer. To vent his frustration, Hyun-sik chops up the fish he just caught. Hye-jin tries to comfort him with a hug, but he pushes her to the ground, so she throws his birdcage into the water too. Another life lost makes Han-sik want to run away.
I'm not even your man anymore. If I want to leave, who are you to stop me? You're just a prostitute, you know? But a prostitute!
They parted on bad terms. Hye-jin sailed the boat away, leaving Hyun-sik unable to get ashore. But even so, it couldn't stop his determination to leave. Under the cover of night, Hyun-sik clung to a floating barrel, trying to swim to the other side. But he lost his grip in the water. Meanwhile, Hye-jin stood on the boat with a provocative look, watching Hyun-sik struggle in the water, only by grabbing the fishhook with his hand. Could he survive? After coming ashore, Hye-jin tended to the wound on his hand, but instead of getting thanks, it triggered Hyun-sik's pent-up emotions to explode. He punched and kicked Hye-jin, then used the most intimate act to vent the love and hatred in their hearts.